All right, here's another word problem with using the percent equation. So our percent equation just states that our part is equal to some percent of our whole. That's always our starting point here. All right, let's take a look at the question. Your class is going on a field trip. 24 students have turned in their permission slips so far. This is 80% of the students in the class. How many students are in the class? So if we look at this problem here, our key numbers that should pop out at us would be the number 24 for 1 and 80%. So as long as we can get these numbers in the right spots in this equation, we'll be good to go. And then of course, we need to make sure we're clear on, what they're asking for. Is that how many students are in the class? Is that more of the part or is that the whole? All right, this problem here, I'm going to put a little star on this one because this problem here is definitely the kind that usually will trip some students up. Any problem where what they're asking for, the unknown, is the whole amount, for whatever reason, that usually messes up a lot of students. So our number of students in our class, that's our whole amount. All right, so the students that turned in the permission slips, that is some part of our whole. The students turned in the permission slips is some part of our whole. So 24 is going to be our part in this case. So we're going to put 24 right here. And our whole amount is, like I said, that's our number of students in our class. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to put a variable in for that. That's X. And it says that 80% of the students in the class, there's actually another hint that that's our whole amount. So whenever you see the word of, whatever comes after that, that's our whole amount. So of what total? 80% in decimal form. 80% is, 80 out of every 100. In decimal form, that's 0.80 or just 0.8. So we have 24 equals 0.8 times what number? We need to get this x by itself. This is multiplication here between my decimal 0.8 and my x. So to undo that multiplication, we are just going to divide both sides by 0.8. And this is, of course, going to cancel out. Our x will be by itself. X equals 24 divided by 0.8. All right, let's actually work one out by hand here. So if I do 24 divided by 0.8, remember that when you divide with decimals, you shift this decimal one to the right, shift this decimal one to the right, move your decimal straight up, and think, how many times does 8 go into 2? Well, it doesn't. How many times does 8 go into 24? That would be 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. And how many times does 8 go into 0? It doesn't. 8 times 0 is 0. Subtract, and we get 30. And every time you figure out a question, you want to make sure that your answer makes sense. So even if you do reverse this x and this 24, you're going to get an answer that just doesn't make sense. But this does make sense. If I have 24 out of 30 students turning in permission slips, that's a pretty large portion of it. That makes sense that that would represent 80% of your class. And let's actually put units on my 30 here. This is 30 students.